The stars above Valora Prime had always been beautiful. The Valaran people would gather on their crystal balconies each night to watch them shine. They would sing songs about the lights in the sky. They believed the universe was peaceful and full of wonder. They were wrong. High Matriarch Thasani stood at the great window of her palace and watched the sky burn. The stars were still there, but now they were hidden behind the dark shapes of enemy ships. Hundreds of them. They blocked out the light like a disease spreading across the heavens. The Kethvari had come. Thasani was old, even by Valoran standards. Her wings had faded from bright blue to soft gray over the centuries. She had seen much in her long life. She had seen her people build great cities of crystal and light. She had seen them join the Galactic Concord and take their place among the elder races of the galaxy. She had believed they were safe. Now she watched her world die. The first bombs fell on the outer cities 3 days ago. The Valorans had no real weapons. They were artists and poets, builders and dreamers. They had never needed to fight. The Galactic Concord had promised to protect them. That was the agreement. That was why they paid their tribute and followed the rules. But the Concord was not coming. Thasani had sent messages to all 12 elder species. She had begged them for help. She had reminded them of their promises. She had shown them images of burning cities and dying children. The responses came slowly. Each one was the same. The Concord was discussing the situation. They were analyzing the threat. They were considering their options. They were doing nothing. Her advisor, a young male named Kethos, entered the room. His wings were still bright green, but his eyes were tired and afraid. He carried a data tablet in his thin hands. "I, Matriarch," he said, his voice shaking. "The Kethvari have destroyed the northern shield generators. Our capital city has no protection now." Thasani closed her eyes. She could hear the distant thunder of explosions. She could feel the floor shake beneath her feet. "How many dead?" she asked. "We stopped counting," Kethos replied. "Millions. Maybe more." The Kethvari were not like other species. They did not want land or resources. They did not want slaves or tribute. They wanted only one thing: destruction. They traveled from world to world, harvesting civilizations like a farmer harvests crops. They took everything of value and burned the rest. No one knew why. Perhaps they had forgotten themselves. Warlord Shefkai commanded this invasion. He was famous across the galaxy. 47 worlds had fallen to his fleet. 47 species had been erased from existence. The Valarans would be 48. "The Concord has sent another message," Kethos said, looking at his tablet. "They say intervention would be strategically unwise. They say our world is not of significant military value. They say they will remember us fondly." Thasani felt something she had never felt before. It took her a moment to recognize it. It was anger. "They will remember us fondly," she repeated. "While we burn, they will remember us fondly." She turned away from the window. The palace was mostly empty now. Her guards had gone to fight and die in the streets. Her servants had fled to the underground shelters. Only Kethos remained by her side. "There must be someone," she said. "Someone who will help us." "We've contacted every member of the Concord," Kethos replied. "We have contacted every neutral species. No one will come. The Kethvari are too powerful. No one wants to die for us." Thasani walked to her communication console. It was an old machine, built when she was young. It could send messages across the entire galaxy. She had used it many times to speak with other leaders, other worlds. Now she would use it one last time. "What are you doing, High Matriarch?" Kethos asked. "I am sending a message," she said. "Not to the Concord. Not to any species we know." "Then to whom?" Dasani began to type. Her old fingers moved slowly across the controls. There are regions of space the Concorde does not control, she said. Wild regions. Unexplored regions. The elder races call the species there primitives. They say they are dangerous and unpredictable. They say they are not civilized. Kathos looked worried. High Matriarch, those species are forbidden. The Concorde has laws. The Concorde has left us to die, Dasani replied. Their laws mean nothing to me now. She finished typing her message. It was simple. It was honest. It was the cry of a mother watching her children burn. We are the Valorans of Valora Prime. We are peaceful. We have done no harm to anyone. The Kethvari are killing us. We have asked for help, but no one comes. If anyone can hear this message, please help us. We are dying. Our children are dying. Please. She pressed the button to send. The message flew out into the void, past the borders of known space, into the darkness where strange species lived. Kathos stood beside her. His wings drooped with sadness. No one will come, he said softly. The primitive species have no ships capable of reaching us in time. And even if they did, why would they help? They do not know us. We have never spoken to them. We have nothing to offer them. Dasani looked out the window again. The Kethvari ships were moving closer. Soon they would begin the final attack. Soon her world would be nothing but ash and memory. You are probably right, she said. No one will come. But I had to try. I had to believe that somewhere out there, someone cares about strangers. Someone will fight for people they have never met. Someone is better than us. The ground shook with another explosion. The crystal walls of the palace cracked. Dust fell from the ceiling. Dasani and Kathos walked down to the underground shelters. They walked past frightened families, past crying children, past the wounded and the dying. They had no words of comfort to offer. They had no hope to give Dot above them. The Kethvari prepared their final weapon. Warlord Shethkai stood on the bridge of his great ship, the World Ender. He smiled with too many teeth. He had done this 47 times before. He would do it again. In the shelter, Dasani held the hand of a small child. The child's wings were pale yellow, not yet fully grown. The child asked if someone would save them. Dasani did not answer. She did not want to lie. 600 light years away from Valora Prime, in a region of space, the Galactic Concorde called the Forgotten Sector, a human warship drifted through the darkness. The U.S. Prometheus Unbound was not a beautiful ship. She was covered in scars and patches. Her hull was dented and burned in a dozen places. She had fought in many battles and won most of them. She was old, tired, and angry. Just like her captain. Captain Elena Vasquez sat in her command chair and stared at the stars. She was 43 years old, but she looked older. A thick scar ran down the left side of her face, a gift from the Soul Border Wars. Her black hair was streaked with gray. Her eyes were dark and tired, but there was fire in them still. She had been a captain for 12 years. She had lost friends, ships, and pieces of herself. She had watched Earth nearly burn in the Proxima Uprising. She had buried too many good people. But she kept going. That was what humans did. They kept going. Captain, said Lieutenant Chun from the communication station, we are receiving a strange transmission. It is not on any known frequency. Vasquez turned her head. Where is it coming from? Deep space, Chum replied. Beyond Concorde borders. It appears to be a distress call. Vasquez stood up from her chair. She was tall and thin, built like a blade. She walked to the communication station and looked at the screen. Play it, she said. The message filled the bridge. It had been translated by the ship's computer, but the voice still carried emotion. It was the voice of someone watching everything they loved die. We are the Valorans of Valora Prime. We are peaceful. We have done no harm to anyone. The HFY are killing us. We have asked for help, but no one comes. If anyone can hear this message, please help us. We are dying. Our children are dying. Please. The bridge was silent. Commander David Okonkwo, the ship's executive officer, stepped forward. He was a big man with kind eyes and a careful mind. He had served with Vasquez for 8 years. The Valorans, he said. I have heard of them. They are members of the Galactic Concord. Peaceful species. Artists, I think, and the HFY? Vasquez asked. Okonkwo's face became dark. Monsters. They destroy worlds for pleasure. The Concord has been afraid of them for centuries. The Concord is afraid of everything, said Chief Engineer Martinez from her station. She was a short woman with oil on her hands and fire in her heart. They were afraid of us too. That is why they refused to let us join. Vasquez remembered. Humanity had applied for membership in the Galactic Concord twice. Both times, they were rejected. The elder races said humans were too young, too aggressive, too dangerous. They said humanity needed to mature before they could join civilized society. The truth was simpler. The elder races were afraid. They had never seen a species like humanity, a species that fought with such fury, a species that refused to give up, even when all hope was lost, a species that did not know how to surrender. So they kept humanity locked away in the forgotten sector. They watched from a distance. They hoped the humans would destroy themselves, but humans did not destroy themselves. They built ships. They explored. They grew stronger. And they waited. How far is Valora Prime? Vasquez asked. 600 light years, Okonkwo replied. Deep inside Concord space. Can we reach them in time? Okonkwo looked at his datapad. He calculated distances and speeds. His face grew worried. If we use standard jump drives, it would take us 3 days. But the message indicates the HFY are already attacking. In 3 days, there will be nothing left to save. Vasquez nodded slowly. And if we use slip space? The bridge became very quiet. Everyone looked at the captain with wide eyes. Slip space was dangerous. It was a dimension between dimensions, a void where the laws of physics did not apply. Human scientists had discovered it during the expansion wars. They had learned to travel through it, cutting travel time by massive amounts. But the journey was rough. Ships sometimes broke apart. Crews sometimes went mad. The elder races refused to use it. They said it was suicide. Humans used it anyway. 14 hours, Okonkwo said quietly. Maybe less if we push the engines hard. Vasquez looked around the bridge. She saw her crew watching her. She saw their faces, their eyes. They were tired. They were far from home. They had nothing to gain from this mission, but they were human. I will not order anyone to do this, Vasquez said. We have no duty to these Valorans. We have never met them. They are not our people. If we go, we will be breaking Concord law. We will be entering their space without permission. We will probably be punished. She paused. And we will probably die. The HFY are stronger than us. They have more ships. They have better weapons. This is not a fight we can win. The bridge was silent. Then Chief Engineer Martinez stood up. She wiped her hands on her uniform and smiled. Captain, she said, when has that ever stopped us? One by one, the other crew members stood. Lieutenant Chun, Weapons Officer Kim, Navigator Patel, Dr. Singh, all of them. They stood and they waited. OKONKW. O turned to Vasquez. His kind eyes were now hard with purpose. Captain, he said, they are killing children. That message was a mother's cry. I have children of my own back on Earth. I cannot ignore that cry and still call myself a man. Vasquez felt something warm in her chest. It was an old feeling, one she had almost forgotten. It was pride. "Set course for Valora Prime," she said. "Maximum slip space velocity. All hands prepare for rough transit." The crew moved quickly. The old ship groaned as her engines came to life. Power flowed through her battered hull like blood through veins. "Captain," Chen said, "the Concorde will detect our entry into their space. They will send ships to stop us." Vasquez sat back in her command chair. She smiled, and the scar on her face twisted like a snake. "Let them try." The Prometheus Unbound turned toward the darkness. Her engines burned bright. Space in front of her began to twist and tear. "Slip space entry in 10 seconds, Okonkwo announced. "All hands, hold on to something." Vasquez gripped her chair. She thought about the Valorans. She had never seen their faces. She did not know their songs or their stories. She did not know if they were good or bad, wise or foolish. She only knew they were dying, and she knew that no one was coming to save them, except her. The Prometheus Unbound plunged into the void. The stars disappeared. The ship shook and screamed. Crew members held on as reality twisted around them. 14 hours. That was all the time they had in the darkness of slip space. Humanity raced toward a world they had never seen, to save a people they had never met. For no reason except one, someone had asked for help, and humans always answered. Warlord Shethkai stood on the bridge of his great ship and watched Valora Prime burn. He was massive, even for a Kethvari. His body was covered in thick gray scales. His eyes were yellow and cold, like coins made of poison. He had 2 sets of arms, each ending in claws that could tear through metal. His mouth was full of teeth that never stopped growing. He had lived for 500 years. He had destroyed 47 worlds. Each destruction brought him pleasure. Each dying scream was music to his ears. The Valorans had been easy. They had no weapons worth mentioning. Their shields were weak. Their cities were soft and beautiful, made of crystal and light. They shattered so easily. "How much longer until the extinction beam is ready?" He asked. His second-in-command, a thin Kethvari named Vreth, checked his console. 2 hours, Warlord. We are gathering the final energy reserves now. Sheth, Kai smiled. The extinction beam was his favorite weapon. It was a beam of pure energy that could crack a planet's core. When fired, it would tear Valora Prime apart from the inside. The planet would explode into 1 billion pieces. Nothing would survive. It was beautiful. "The Galactic Concorde has sent another message," Vreth reported. "They are demanding that we stop our attack." "Demanding?" Shethkai laughed. It was an ugly sound, like rocks grinding together. "The Concorde has been demanding things for centuries. They never do anything. They are old and weak and afraid. They say they will send a peacekeeping fleet. In how many days?" Vreth looked at his data. 4 days, Warlord. Shethkai laughed again. "In 4 days, this world will be dust. The Concorde knows this. They send their messages to feel good about themselves. They will write sad poems about the Valorans and then forget them." He walked to the great window of his bridge. Below him, Valora Prime glowed with fire. The night side of the planet was covered in burning cities. The smoke rose up like prayers that no one would answer. "Beautiful," he whispered. Far below, in the underground shelters, the Valoran people waited for death. High Matriarch Thasani sat among her people and held their hands. She sang soft songs to the children. She wiped tears from the faces of mothers who had lost their families. She had stopped hoping. Hope was painful. It was easier to accept the end. Ketho sat beside her. His young face had aged in the past few days. He looked like an old man now. The Concorde ships will arrive in 4 days, he said quietly. We will be dead in 2 hours, Vasani replied. The HFY are preparing their final weapon, I know. They sat in silence. Above them, the ceiling shook with distant explosions. Dust fell like gray snow. On the bridge of the World Ender, HFY prepared to make history. 48 worlds. 48 species erased. His name would be remembered forever. Then the alarm started screaming. Vreth jumped at his console. His claws moved quickly over the controls. His face showed something HFY had never seen before: fear. Warlord, Vreth said, his voice shaking. We are detecting an energy signature. Something is coming. Concorde ships? No, Warlord. The energy pattern is wrong. It is like nothing I have ever seen. HFY turned to look at the main screen. Space in front of them looked normal. Stars. Darkness. Nothing else. Then space began to tear dot. It started as a small crack in reality. A line of light where light should not exist. Then the line grew. It spread outward like a wound opening. Purple and black energy poured from the edges. The fabric of space screamed in pain. HFY stepped back. In 500 years, he had never seen anything like this. What is happening? He demanded. I do not know, Warlord. Vreth shouted. The energy readings are impossible. Something is forcing its way through from another dimension. The tear in space grew larger. It was now bigger than the World Ender itself. Inside the tear, there was only darkness. A darkness that moved. A darkness that breathed. And then, from that darkness, a ship emerged. Thought it was smaller than the World Ender. Much smaller. It was covered in scars and dents and burn marks. It looked old and tired and beaten. It looked like it should have died a long time ago. But it was still moving. Still fighting. The ship burst from the void like a bullet from a gun. The tear in space closed behind it. For a moment, the ship just hung there, facing the entire HFY fleet. One ship against hundreds. Identify that vessel. HFY roared. Vreth's claws shook as he worked the controls. Warlord, the ship design is not in our database. The energy signature is strange. The weapons appear to be primitive, kinetic rounds. Chemical explosives. Basic plasma cannons. Where did it come from? The Forgotten Sector, Warlord. The region where the Concorde keeps the primitive species. HFY's eyes grew narrow. Which species? Vreth looked at his screen. His voice became quiet. Humans, Warlord. The ship is human. HFY had heard stories about humans. The elder races talked about them in whispers. They said humans were dangerous. They said humans did not think like other species. They said humans would fight when all logic said they should run. He had never believed the stories. Humans were young, weak, primitive. They had no place in civilized space, and yet here one of their ships was, hanging in front of his fleet, alone. Open a channel, HFY commanded. Tell them to surrender. Tell them they have entered a HFY operation zone. Tell them to leave or be destroyed. Vreth sent the message. They waited. No response came. Send it again, HFY ordered. Still no response. The human ship began to move. It did not turn around. It did not retreat. It moved forward, toward the HFY fleet, toward the World Ender, toward certain death. They are charging weapons, Vreth reported. All weapons. They are preparing to attack. HFY could not believe what he was seeing. One small ship against his entire fleet. It was insane. It was suicide. Then they have chosen death, he said. All ships, open fire. Destroy that primitive vessel. The HFY fleet turned toward the human ship. Hundreds of weapons powered up. Hundreds of targeting systems locked on the bridge of the Prometheus Unbound. Captain Elena Vasquez watched the enemy fleet prepare to kill her. She saw the numbers on her screen. Enemy ships, 347. Enemy weapons, enough to destroy a moon. Her ship, 1. Her crew, 112. Her weapons, not enough. She smiled. All hands, she said into the ship's communication system. This is the captain. We have arrived at Valora Prime. The enemy fleet is in front of us. They are bigger than us, stronger than us. There are more of them than there are of us. She paused. But we are human. And down on that planet, innocent people are dying. Children are crying. Mothers are praying. They asked for help. We are the help. We are all the help they have. She stood up from her chair. Today we show the galaxy what humans are made of. Today we fight. Not for glory. Not for reward. We fight because someone needs us. We fight because that is who we are. She looked at her crew. They looked back at her. All weapons free, she said. Attack. The Prometheus Unbound flew into the heart of the Kethvari fleet, guns blazing, engines screaming, and fear nowhere to be found. The Battle of Valora Prime had begun. The Prometheus Unbound dove into the enemy fleet like a wolf among sheep. But these sheep had fangs. These sheep had weapons that could tear worlds apart. It did not matter. Captain Vasquez stood on her bridge as explosions rocked her ship. She held onto her command chair and gave orders in a voice as steady as stone. Target the nearest cruiser. All 4 guns fire. The Prometheus Unbound's guns roared. Kinetic rounds, simple metal slugs, accelerated to incredible speeds, slammed into the Kethvari cruiser. The cruiser's shields flickered. Another volley. The shields collapsed. A third volley. The cruiser exploded. First blood to the humans. But the Kethvari were not sleeping. Energy beams lanced through space from every direction. The Prometheus Unbound shook as her shields took hit after hit. Shields at 60%, Commander Okonkwo reported. We cannot take this punishment for long. Then we will not take it for long, Vasquez replied. Martinez, give me everything the engines have. We need to move. Chief Engineer Martinez's voice came through the speakers, rough and determined. Captain, the engines are already at maximum. If I push them harder, they might explode. Might? 70% chance. That means 30% chance they will not. Do it, the engine screamed. The ship lurched forward. She became a blur, moving faster than the Kethvari targeting systems could follow. The Kethvari had fought many enemies. They had developed strategies for every situation. They knew how to defeat cautious enemies who fought from a distance. They knew how to crush aggressive enemies who attacked in waves. They knew how to break the spirits of brave enemies who stood their ground, but they had never fought humans. Humans did not fight like anyone else. They did not calculate odds. They did not measure risk against reward. They did not retreat when logic said they should. They attacked. They kept attacking. They attacked until they won or until they died. The Prometheus Unbound weaved between enemy ships, guns firing in every direction. She was not trying to destroy the whole fleet. She was trying to reach the world ender. Kill the head, and the body would die. Warlord Shethkai watched from his bridge with growing anger. He had expected this human ship to break and run after the first exchange. He had expected them to realize they were OUTMATCHED. Instead, they were fighting harder. 4 of our cruisers destroyed, Reth reported, his voice filled with disbelief. 2 more heavily damaged. The human ship is still moving. Impossible, Shethkai growled. They are one ship. One primitive ship with primitive weapons. How are they doing this? He studied the battle on his screen. The human ship moved in patterns he did not understand. It twisted and turned in ways that should have torn it apart. It took hits that should have destroyed it, but kept moving, and the humans inside kept fighting. On the Prometheus Unbound, the situation was desperate. The bridge was filled with smoke. Several consoles had exploded. Lieutenant Chun had a bleeding wound on his head, but he kept working. Weapons Officer Kim had lost his left arm to shrapnel, but he kept firing with his right. "Shields are gone," Okonkwo said. "Hull breaches on decks 4, 7, and 12. We have lost 30 crew members." Vasquez's face was grim. 30 dead. 30 people who had trusted her. 30 families who would never see their loved ones again. But she could not stop. Not now. How close are we to the world ender? 2 kilometers and closing. On the nuclear missiles. All of them. Okonkwo looked at her. His eyes were wide. "Captain, those missiles were meant for close-range combat. If we fire them at this distance, the blast might destroy us too." "Probably will destroy us," Vasquez corrected. "But probably will destroy them too. Arm the missiles, Commander." Okonkwo nodded slowly. He understood. This was not a battle they could win through normal tactics. This was a battle they could only win through sacrifice. The Prometheus Unbound pushed forward. Tefari weapons hammered her hull. Holes opened in her sides. Air rushed out into space. Crew members fought to seal the breaches while fires burned all around them. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Martinez worked with bleeding hands. One of the main reactors had cracked. Radiation was leaking. She knew she was dying. She sealed the reactor anyway. "Captain," she said through the communicator, her voice weak. "Engines will hold for 5 more minutes. After that, no promises." 5 minutes is all I need, Chief. Thank you. Go kill those bastards, Captain. For all of us." The line went silent. Martinez sat down against the reactor and closed her eyes. She thought about her daughter back on Earth. She hoped someone would tell her that her mother died fighting. The Prometheus Unbound reached the world ender. She was tiny compared to the Kethvari flagship. Like a mosquito next to an elephant, but mosquitoes can carry poison. "Fire all nuclear missiles," Vasquez ordered. "Target their engine section." 10 missiles flew from the Prometheus Unbound. They were small things, barely visible against the darkness of space. But each one carried the power of a dying star. The world ender's point defense systems activated. They shot down 3 missiles. 4 more. 2 more. 1 missile got through. The nuclear explosion lit up space like a new sun. The world ender's engine section tore apart. Secondary explosions rippled through the massive ship, but it was not enough. The world ender was still functional. Its main weapons were still online. And now Shethkai was angry. "Destroy that human ship," he screamed. "All weapons, fire!" 100 beams of energy slammed into the Prometheus Unbound. The ship broke. Her hull cracked open. Her engines died. She began to drift, powerless, toward Valora Prime below. On the bridge, Vasquez pulled herself up from the floor. Half her crew was dead or dying. The lights were out. The consoles were dark. The ship was finished, but she was not. "Okonkwo," she said, "are navigation thrusters still online?" Okonkwo crawled to a broken console. He checked the systems with bloody fingers. "Barely. We can maneuver a little." "Why?" Vasquez looked out the broken window. She saw the world ender in front of her. She saw its engine section burning, but not destroyed. She saw the extinction beam still powering up, ready to kill a world, because we are going to ram them. Okonkwo stared at her. Then he laughed. It was a broken, painful laugh. "Captain, that is insane. Yes, we will all die, probably. The ship will never survive the impact. No, Okonkwo looked at his captain. He saw the fire in her eyes. He understood. It has been an honor serving with you, Captain. The honor was mine, Commander. All hands, this is the captain. Brace for impact. We are going to hit them with everything we have left. Ourselves. The Prometheus Unbound turned toward the World Ender. Her last remaining thrusters fired. She began to move, slowly at first, then faster. HFY saw her coming. He ordered his ships to fire, but it was too late. The human ship was too close. The Prometheus Unbound struck the World Ender like a bullet through flesh. She tore through the weakened engine section, ripping apart everything in her path. Explosions bloomed through both ships. The World Ender began to fall. Its great body, now broken and burning, was caught by Valora Prime's gravity. It tumbled down toward the planet below Dot and tangled within it. Dying but unbroken was the Prometheus Unbound. Together, the two ships fell through the sky like angels of war, but only one ship's crew was still fighting. The Prometheus Unbound crashed in a valley 3 kilometers from the Valoran capital city. Her hull was broken. Her engines were dead. Her beautiful form was now twisted metal and smoke. But she had survived. Barely. The World Ender crashed in the wastelands far to the north. Warlord HFY died in the impact. His body was never found. The extinction beam never fired. Valora Prime would live, but the battle was not over. The Kethvari ground forces had already landed. Thousands of warriors in heavy armor, with weapons designed to tear flesh and crush bone. They had been sent to collect survivors for the slave camps. Now, with their warlord dead and their flagship destroyed, they wanted revenge. They marched toward the capital city. And they marched toward the crashed human ship. Captain Elena Vasquez pulled herself from the wreckage. Her left leg was broken. Her ribs were cracked. Blood covered half her face. But she was alive. She looked around the crash site. Bodies were everywhere. Her crew, her family. So many dead. But not all. 40-7 crew members had survived the crash. They crawled from the broken ship, wounded and bleeding, but still breathing. Commander Okonkwo had survived. Weapons Officer Kim had survived, though his remaining arm was now in a sling. Lieutenant Chen had survived, though he could barely see through his bandages. They gathered around their captain. They were beaten, broken, barely standing, but they were human. "Captain," Okonkwo said, his voice rough with pain, "Kethvari ground forces are approaching. 3,000 warriors. They will be here in 1 hour." Vasquez looked at her crew. 47 people against 3,000. Wounded soldiers against fresh killers. Pistols and rifles against heavy armor. "Weapons check," she said. "What do we have?" The answer was not good. A few dozen rifles. Some pistols. A handful of grenades. Enough ammunition to last maybe an hour if they were careful. It would not be enough. "Captain," Kim said, his voice tired, "we cannot win this fight. We should retreat, hide, wait for rescue." Vasquez shook her head. "There is no rescue coming. The Concord is 4 days away. By then, the Kethvari will have found the Valoran shelters. They will kill everyone. Then what do we do?" Vasquez looked toward the capital city. Somewhere beneath it, innocent people were hiding. Children were crying. Mothers were praying. They had asked for help. She had come to help. "We hold the line," she said. "We stand between the enemy and the city. We fight until we cannot fight anymore. We buy time for the Velorans to escape deeper into the caves." "We will die," Chun said quietly. Vasquez smiled. It was a tired smile, but real. "Everyone dies, Lieutenant. The only choice we have is how." I choose to die fighting for people who cannot fight for themselves. I choose to die standing, not running." She looked at her crew, her broken, bleeding, beautiful crew. "But I will not order you to stay. This is not Earth. These are not our people. Anyone who wants to hide, to wait for rescue, I understand. Go now. I will not blame you." No one moved. Okonkwo stepped forward. "Captain, we did not fly 600 light years to hide. We came to fight. So let us fight." One by one, the other survivors stepped forward. Kim, Chun, the engineers, the doctors, the cooks, even the wounded who could barely stand. They picked up their weapons. They faced their captain. Vasquez felt her heart swell. This was humanity. This was what they were made of. "Then let us show these monsters what humans can do. Form a defensive line. Use the wreckage as cover. Make every bullet count." They moved into position. The broken hull of the Prometheus Unbound became their fortress. They dug in, found cover, checked their weapons, and they waited. The Kethvari came an hour later. 3,000 warriors in gleaming armor, carrying weapons that could cut through steel. They marched in perfect formation, their yellow eyes burning with hatred. They expected easy prey. Wounded survivors. Broken soldiers. They found something else. The first Kethvari to approach the human position died with a bullet between his eyes. The second died moments later. Then the third. Then the fourth. The humans fired with precision. Every shot found a target. Every bullet was precious, and they spent each one wisely. The Kethvari charged. The humans held their ground. Fighting erupted across the crash site. Energy beams and kinetic rounds. Claws and rifle butts. Blood and screaming. For 6 hours, the humans fought. They fought when their ammunition ran low. They fought when their weapons jammed. They fought with knives and fists and pieces of broken metal. They fought when they should have been dead already. One by one, they fell. But each human who died took 10 Kethvari with them. When the Galactic Concord peacekeepers finally arrived, they expected to find a massacre. They expected to find the Kethvari victorious, standing over human bodies. Instead, they found silence. The crash site was covered in dead Kethvari. Thousands of them. Their bodies lay in piles around the broken human ship. Their blood stained the ground black dot, and in the middle of it all, standing among the bodies, were 22 humans. Just 22 out of 47. They were covered in blood and wounds. They could barely stand, but they were still alive, and around them, not a single Kethvari warrior remained standing. High Matriarch Dasani climbed out of the underground shelter when she heard that it was safe. She walked through the destroyed streets of her city. She saw the smoke rising from the crash site in the distance. She walked for 2 hours. Her old legs ached. Her wings were too weak to fly. But she kept walking. She found the humans sitting among the ruins of their ship. The alarm medics had arrived to treat their wounds. Concord officials stood around, talking in confused voices. They did not understand what had happened. Dasani understood. She walked past the officials. She walked past the medics. She walked until she stood before Captain Elena Vasquez. The human captain sat with her back against a piece of wreckage. Her broken leg was wrapped in bandages. Her face was pale from blood loss, but her eyes were still alive, still burning. Dasani knelt before her. It was not a Valorn custom to kneel, but some things were beyond custom. "You saved us," she said. "You came when no one else would come. You fought when no one else would fight. You bled for people you had never met." Why? Vasquez looked at the old Valorn. She thought about the question. She thought about the journey through slipspace, the battle in orbit, the fight on the ground. She thought about the friends she had lost. The crew who had followed her into death. Why had she done it? The answer was simple. "You called for help," she said. "We were close enough to hear. That is all the reason we ever need." The Sani felt tears in her ancient eyes. She took the human's hand and held it gently. "Thank you," she whispered. "On behalf of my people, thank you." Vasquez squeezed her hand weakly. "You are welcome. Now, if you do not mind, I'm going to pass out." She did. The news of the Battle of Valora Prime spread across the galaxy. The Concorde tried to hide it, but the story was too big. Too powerful. A single human ship had faced a Kethvari invasion fleet and won. A handful of human soldiers had held off 3,000 warriors. They had done it for strangers. For people they had never met. The elder races did not know what to make of it. Some were afraid. Some were confused. Some were ashamed. But across the galaxy, other species, younger species, smaller species, forgotten species heard the story. And they felt something new. Hope. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Concorde, the elder races held an emergency session. They debated for hours. They argued about what to do with humanity. Some wanted to punish them for violating Concorde space. Some wanted to ignore them and hope they went away. Some wanted to destroy them before they became too powerful. But in the end, they were too afraid to do anything, because they had finally understood the truth about humans. Humans were not dangerous because of their weapons. They were not dangerous because of their ships. They were dangerous because of something much deeper. Humans would fight for strangers. They would die for people they had never met. They would bleed for causes that brought them no reward. They would stand against impossible odds, not for glory, not for power, but simply because someone needed help. That was the most dangerous thing in the universe. An empire could be defeated. An army could be destroyed. But a species that would fight for anyone, anywhere, for any reason? That was something the galaxy had never seen before, and it changed everything. On a hospital ship above Valora Prime, Captain Elena Vasquez woke up. Commander Okonkwo sat beside her bed. He was smiling. "Captain," he said, "you are famous. The whole galaxy is talking about us." Vasquez groaned. "I hate being famous." "Too bad. The Valorans are already building a statue of you. Tell them to make me taller." Okonkwo laughed. It was a good sound. Outside the hospital window, Valora Prime glowed with the light of a new morning. The fires were out. The survivors were rebuilding. The children were playing again, because someone had come to save them. Because when they called for help, humanity answered. And humanity always would.